Welcome to the first episode of Ad Spend, a new podcast where we talk about everything media buying related. Today, we got a chance to talk to one of the best media buyers that I know, Marin, and we went through his entire testing structure, scaling structure, his creative pipeline, CRO, and offer testing, and some of his favorite tools. Marin, what a great conversation, and I can't wait for everybody to get into it.
Yeah, it's full packed, no fluff, just action points how both you and I like it, and I hope the listeners will too.
If you don't know Marin, you've been living under a rock. And if you've been on Twitter, X, and you don't follow this guy, then you're completely missing out. Marin, I think we met like a few years ago in
Geek Out Miami.
And you were giving a presentation which was amazing. And since then I've followed you and I've looked to you for advice. In certain situations and circumstances. I think you're, if not everyone's favorite follow on Twitter, you're about to be. But I definitely want to thank you for coming on the show. You're super tactical in your approach to everything that you do when it comes to media buying. But for those who don't know you, would love a quick introduction and a little bit of your background, and then let's get into it.
Yeah, I appreciate the kind intro. You put some pressure on for me on this episode. Yeah, as you said, we met at Geek Out. I like to structure all of my presentations so they're like actionable, no fluff, because I hated going to a conference and then like someone tells you, hey, just test hooks or whatever. How I came to this position, so I was in my senior year of college studying computer science, also playing football semi-professional, so I was trying to figure out like which route to go. Somehow I stumbled upon digital marketing, started learning everything there is about it, like went through the whole Facebook and Google literature support to like try to understand how the auction works. It sounds interesting to me. I'm analytical, great with numbers, detail-oriented. So I started freelancing. Soon met Matt, who I joined as a freelancer, then like junior, mid, senior, head of performance, currently partner at the same agency. So basically my whole journey is tied to Inspire. We are a boutique agency focused on paid social. Facebook is our bread and butter. And we realized through the years that we can scale other people's businesses. So we started our own. So in between my clients and the agency, I spent over $150 million on Facebook ads. And I'm hopefully going to share some nuggets on this episode.
That's actually really interesting. You were picking between soccer and
computer science.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever heard that before. What if I said you're wasting nearly 30% of your ad budget? If you're spending at least $5 million a year, odds are you're setting at least 7 figures on fire. Lifesight has run dozens of waste audits using incrementality tests. Across the board, 20 to 30% of media spend drives zero incremental revenue despite what your in-platform ROAS says. Lifesight is a measurement platform that finds the waste and then tells you exactly what to cut, what to scale, and what to reallocate. No more dashboards and vibes, no more stitched together spreadsheets and gut feelings. Just real measurement built for high growth brands growing to 9 figures and beyond. If you're tired of chasing fake ROAS numbers that collapse as you scale, check out lifesight.io/adspend.
Now, let's get back to the episode.
What we're here to talk about is Meta, right? It's on everybody's mind. It's the topic of conversation. It is undoubtedly has been and probably will be the best platform for customer acquisition. I do think this year there was a lot of changes. Whether it was health and wellness brands getting kind of flagged for events and things like that, or maybe it was the new algorithm change with Andromeda and how marketers have to start thinking about diversity and volume and all the things that have always been important, but I feel like Meta is kind of amplifying it even more. But would love your take, like how are you seeing this year versus kind of any other year when it comes to Meta?
Yes, it's definitely tougher. Definitely health and wellness impacted a lot of brands. Even the brands that haven't been impacted with restrictions, they feel they're suffering. Most of my clients are like either like same year on year or like they making more revenue but with the less profits. So there's definitely something that's happening. In terms of the Andromeda, there's a lot of talks like how it impacts, why it impacts, what you should do. But honestly, I did not notice any big difference in the ad account except the fact that the iterations do not work as they worked before. Mm-hmm. Pretty much my setup is same as it was last year. Mm-hmm. it just feels like, okay, everything is less efficient. We are paying a bit more for the click, but that click is converting the less.
Makes sense. So I definitely want to get into kind of the actual account structure here, because I do think for viewers and listeners of the show, basically there is no right way to do Meta, right? You pick something that makes sense for you and the brand, how you're structuring creative tests, or how you guys have a creative flywheel, and how you're testing landing pages and offers. There's so many ways to run Meta, right? And I feel like that's been more so the case this year, where last year I feel like everybody was running it the same way and everything was kind of working, right? Now, when you come to this year, there's a lot of talks around, well, you should be testing with this structure, or you should be using these exclusions, or you should be using these attribution settings, and you should be doing this, that, and whatever it is, right? There's so many variables that you can kind of pick and choose, and by the time you even test all of them, you could have lost a lot of money, right? So the point of the show is to kind of get your take, because you've built a brand, you've built multiple brands using your strategy. It obviously works, and so I want the audience to have a reference point of, okay, well, let me test this way and see how it goes for my business, right? So I think first things first, let's get into the ad account breakdown, right? How are you running your ad account? How are you testing? How are you scaling? Let's get right into the nitty gritty.
Yeah. So listen, I'm a media buyer, but I tell to all of my clients, like, media buyers are, ads are just amplifiers. They're a cherry on top. With technical media buying, I can improve your results maximum like 20-30% if your ad account is terrible and you don't have proper exclusions, you don't know how to optimize. But then everything else is depending on the offer and on the creatives. We can start with the technical side. So my preferred structure is ABO testing, where each of the tests is a new ad set. So let's say if I have 4 anti-aging videos, that would be one ad set. If I have like 3 us versus them images, that would be another ad set. So basically each ad set is a new test with 3 to 5 different variations of the same concept. I prefer to use ABO because in a CBO, I noticed that Facebook sometimes spends based on the engagement metrics. It spends on the ad that has the highest thumbs up ratio, or the ad that has the highest click rate. And that's not necessarily indicator of performance. So I like to use ABO because that allows me to scale each individual good test. Sometimes I get like from 100 to 5K in a single ad set that's performing good over the course of like 2 weeks. When I do that with 5-6 ad sets, I'm scaling right away in the testing. No matter if my testing campaign is labeled as testing, I scale whatever it works. So that's my core campaign. What is important to mention here is that ABO works if you have decent hit rate. So let's say if we have at least 3 out of 10 winners, then the winners pay for the losers. If you have 1 out of 10 tests that's working, then you're going to waste a lot of money in ABO testing. That's why people say ABO does not work. I mean, ABO does not work if your tests do not work.
Fair. So let's go and let's dive a little bit deeper in here, right? When are you testing? Like, what is the cadence? Are you testing weekly? What does that look like?
Yeah, so I launch all of my tests on Wednesday because I noticed performance is way better on a weekend, and I want them to run through the weekend. If I launch them on a weekend, I have just 2 days of a decent performance, and then like Monday and Tuesday are usually bad. So I schedule them on Wednesday. Everything is, let's say, I can speak for our brand. It's with $100. So evaluate them on Friday. So basically they get like 2 and a half days, like, so $250. They spend like, okay, if something is getting traction, I already increased the budget on that ad set.
And how are you increasing the budget? Are you doubling? Are you bumping by a percentage?
So let's say from 100 to 200, 200, 350, 350, 550, 550, 750, 750, 1K.
Okay.
That's like every day or every 2-3 days. So basically I can get from 100 to 1K, like in a week and a half. Yeah. So that's first thing. I evaluate them on Friday. I can immediately see if something is bad. So like if my average, I know people say CPC doesn't matter, but if my average CPC is like $2 and I have a test with $5, it's not gonna work. If my average thumbs up ratio is 30%, but this one has 17, it's not gonna work. So like sometimes, maybe I like kill some of the ones that could be potentially decent one, but they're never gonna be winners. So on Friday, I evaluate. I maybe also check if one ad like sucked all of the spend, like 90% of the spend. I maybe decrease the budget. I let them run through the weekend, and I repeat everything on a Monday. So by Monday, I have 1/3 of the tests that I scaled, 1/3 that I killed, and 1/3 that is running with either similar budget, same budget, or like I killed one of the variation. The next week, again, next tests are going live on a Wednesday.
Got it. Understood. And then in terms of ideal number of tests, right? I find that there's a lot of varying opinions on, well, should I go quantity over quality or quality over quantity? But where is that sweet spot for you? And I would imagine it also depends on size of the brand. But if for those who are listening, how do I decide how many creatives I should be launching on a weekly basis?
Yeah, I mean, let's say for a brand that's spending 10K a day, I think you should test between 10 and 15 concepts a week. For a brand that's spending, let's say, 5K, I think you need to be between 5 and 10. That's concept with the multiple variation. I don't have a hard rule, but you can feel like how much you need. Okay, I mean, maybe we're on a 5K and you want me to scale, but you give me only 2 tests a week. I will not be able to scale. So It's not like, I mean, depending what you want. If you're comfortable with me spending 5K with a decent CPA and I can scale you to 6K to 7K, okay, that's fine. But like to take you to the next level, we definitely need volume. I'm a guy that favors quality over quantity. I don't like, these guys that are like launching 100 stuff that they got from seeding and just for the sake of launching. And like you get 1 out of 100 that's performing.
Right.
But obviously, even with the quality, you need quantity to scale.
Got it. Makes sense. No, I mean, it comes down to the hit rate, right?
Exactly.
And we'll get into a creative process a little bit later, but if you feel like your hit rate is, a solid, 30%, then obviously you don't necessarily need to launch as much, right? But if you're at a 10% or lower, then obviously you're going to need a lot more, right? On the testing side, I found that I've been testing a lot more on what exclusions to include and not include. Have you found that has changed this year, or are you sticking to what you've been doing, which is...
I'm pretty much sticking to what I've been doing. Let's just jump back to the hit rate. So if the hit rate is low, then I would test with a CBO, but with the min budget. So I would assign min budget to each of the concepts to still get some data, because otherwise I will burn a lot of money. In terms of the exclusions, 90% of my 90% of my clients care about acquiring new customers, so that I'm definitely excluding full purchase list and sync from Klaviyo and from Pixel 180 days, basically the highest possible exclusion. Obviously, there's some gaps, especially since the iOS 14, and especially on the brands that have high repeat rate. So then obviously I exclude all the possible, but then I still get like discrepancy between the new customers and all of the customers, which is honestly annoying. But what I found for some of the brands, let's say brands that are built organically, that they had an organic presence, then they transitioned to Facebook. There you get so many view conversions. So then on them, I also exclude website visitors, because I don't want Facebook to claim the sales that Facebook is not responsible for. I have one client that does not exclude buyers, and like their percentage of new customers did not change at all, but they are like heavy on acquisition. So I don't think that's the case. I think that's more an exception than the rule.
Makes sense. Okay, so full customers. You have the list. You have the pixel. You're excluding website visitors based off of the brand in itself, right? I think one thing that I've also thought about this year is that signal is very important to Meta, especially post Andromeda update. Obviously, we want new customers, so we don't want our customers buying again through these ads, because that's not what we're working for. I've kind of taken a step back on website visitors as an exclusion. Before, it's like, well, I want to test a new creative that's going to dethrone my current winners. And if they can perform while being excluded from customers and being excluded from website visitors, I know it's a winner, right? The problem here is that with
hit rate is even lower.
Hit rate is even lower, and if now Meta is like, okay, well, I want a little bit of engagement from a warmer audience to say, okay, well, the engagement signals on this is decent. Let me help you with better auctions, right? So that's been my I guess, testing from maybe going from 180 days to maybe 30 days and then removing it entirely and seeing, how things go. So I'm curious, in terms of signal strength and just kind of engagement, where has anything of your mindset changed from last year to this year?
Yeah, so I have some ad accounts where it's like just purchase, it's not website visitors. The thing is, you can see that percentage of new visits is lower. It's not like 80, it's like 60 or like 55. So like that's cool, but you should be aware of that, like it's not really prospecting. And then okay, if you put it with the full exclusion, it's not necessarily scaled. So that's definitely good, but you should be aware of that this is not necessarily scalable just because it's doing partially a bit more retargeting.
Right, makes sense. Attribution settings, what do you like to use for testing?
7-day click, 1-day view is default one because 90% of my clients, they have additional third-party tracking software like Triple Whale or Norbeam. So no matter what Facebook said, I'm not making decision based on Facebook. The only thing is that I notice for the ads that are doing a bit more retargeting. So images, I know they're doing retargeting, and mashups, they're doing retargeting. So I test them with 7-day click just because I know they're going to do more retargeting, and I don't want them give Facebook a chance to do the retargeting more. That's one thing. And the other thing is, as I mentioned, again, the brands that are built organically, I noticed they have way more percentage of view conversions than the regular. So I find like around 20 to 25% of view conversions is fine. Anything more than that, it's a warning sign to me. Then I test on 7-day click only. We had one brand that they were built organically. They started with Facebook ads, they got to 10K like in a month. And like ROAS was like, 7. I checked view conversions, it's like 80% view conversions. So I told them, hey guys, like you're just spending money in vain. Facebook is just claiming the sale that it's not responsible. We switched everything to 7-day click. We cut all of their stuff. Their revenue stayed the same. We spent 200K less. So basically we saved them 200K just because we were not optimizing based on Facebook numbers. So for those clients, I run exclusively 7-day click.
Right, makes sense. Marketing across multiple channels can be pure chaos. One platform says scale, the other says pause. The CFO says cut the budget. That's where Lifesight comes in. It combines geo experiments, MMM, and incrementality adjusted attribution in one unified platform. You get causality, not just correlation, and click paths. But the best part is it doesn't stop at measurement. Lifesight gives you accurate plan forecasts with actionable recommendations like cut this campaign or scale this channel. If you're spending real money and don't know what's actually moving the needle, you need to try Lifesight. Get started with a 30-day free audit and platform evaluation by going to lifesight.io/adspend. They'll show you exactly where your spend is being wasted, no strings attached.
Now, let's get back to the episode.
You're running testing on everyone's favorite debate, but what is the bidding strategy here?
Lowest cost.
Lowest cost.
Yeah.
Have you tested manual bidding on testing campaigns at all?
I did on some of the clients. Honestly, performance was like worse than it was during the lowest cost. It could be because I kind of like, okay, lowest cost is not working, let's try cost cap. So it's not maybe a fair chance that I gave this like poor ad account chance to test on a lowest cost. I can again see that percentage of new visits is lower, which tells me it's doing partially a bit more retargeting. The other thing is that like I'm okay, like let's say if I have a CPA target of 50, I'm okay Facebook like giving me 60. And like in a lowest cost, in a manual bid, that's not necessarily the case, especially if you test with a bid cap. It would not go above that. And I'm okay with paying like 10-20% more if it gives me a bit more volume. And I'm not a fan of using cost cap for testing because I don't think that Facebook can determine the performance without serving an impression, or like with not necessarily serving an impression, but like just within $5. I don't think I trust Facebook. Spend is an indicator, but not to an extent that it can determine whether the ad is performing good or not based on the couple of dollars.
$5
But
to spend,
on the other
yeah.
side, I'm a fan of using cost cap for scaling.
Okay, let's get into scaling. So right now we're testing an ABO. You're launching ads weekly. You're scaling up winners that look good. You're cutting anything that doesn't look good on based off of soft metrics, and you're kind of leaving the ones in the middle to kind of figure itself out.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, back on Wednesday, you have some really solid winners from the week before. What are you doing with those?
I take their post ID and I put them into Advantage Shopping Plus with a cost cap, which is Advantage Shopping Plus per product, because I'm using cost cap. If I have different products, one has $100 AOV, the other has $200 AOV, they have different cost per acquisition targets. So I cannot mix them together, because if I put one cost cap, Facebook would spend maybe on another product that has a lower AOV, and I would not be profitable. So basically, I always, when I'm using manual bid, I have campaign per product. Initially, when I'm launching this Advantage Shopping Plus, I import winners. So let's say 10 winners. And then on a weekly basis, I feed that Advantage Shopping Plus with new ads. It's like a Hunger's game, like whoever wins. I don't care if one ad would not get spent in testing, because I'm scaling it. I do not care if one ad would not get spent in scaling, because I'm scaling it in testing, but whatever works here works, and it's kind of operating on an inflated budget.
Right.
Just because I noticed that the cost cap can spend more on a weekend, and I know performance is better on a weekend. So on a Tuesday, let's say it's operating on a 20K budget, and it might cost cap at the target CPA. On a Tuesday, it would spend 5K. On a Thursday, it would spend 7K. On a Saturday, it would spend 19K.
Yeah.
And I'm not touching anything. So basically, we are leveraging that, I call it weekend scaling, to kind of like bump our results, because I, as a media buyer, cannot determine to what extent I could scale on a weekend. Because sometimes I would like increase like from 2K to 5K, but there had been more room. Sometimes I would increase from 2K to 5K, and it would be bad performance.
Right. No, I agree. And that's one of my favorite use cases for manual bidding is to at least capture the demand when it is there.
Exactly.
And then kind of pull back when it's not, right? So at least with your testing, you have some consistent volume. And then when it can, maybe on the weekend, there's a little bit more demand. People are on social. Maybe you guys had, something kind of go viral organically, and you've kind of built that demand. Facebook can kind of go after it when it needs to. So I really love the strategy here. So kind of just recap: testing in an ABO, separate campaign, moving winners into an ASC campaign with a cost cap. General thoughts around ASC. How do you feel about this addition as a campaign from Meta? Yeah,
so initially when they introduced Advantage Shopping Plus like 3 years ago, I think, I was like, okay, what's happening here? They're not giving us control, and I'm a media buyer that likes to have control. So I was like, okay, I'm not really a fan of that, but I did see it initially performing very well. Down the road, I see that it does a bit more retargeting than the regular campaign, which is, it's a good thing and it's not a good thing. I don't know, like what you said, I want a bit more signals, but not to the extent that is limiting me from prospecting. So I see the same ad in testing where my full exclusions, and Advantage Shopping Plus, same ad has different percentage of new visits, which tells me it does a bit more retargeting. But as long as it scales, it scales. Yeah. Honestly, I don't have any ad account yet that has that new Advantage Shopping Plus where you don't have a customer cap, but you have regular exclusions. Because when the Facebook rep asked me, I said opted me out of all of this. So I'm gonna see what's gonna happen when I get that new campaign in one of the ad accounts.
So then in terms of exclusions for ASC, are you setting an existing budget or not?
So I put 0% cap at existing customers, and then in my engagement segment, I put website visitors 180 days and a list of subscribers.
Nice. I love that. So the first thing that you mentioned, obviously, is that the ad account structure is not the silver bullet for a brand, right? We all know that.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you have to have a good brand, you have to have a good product, you have to have good creatives, offers, everything. Everything that truly matters to success happens outside of the ad account, right? For viewers out there, they're just like, well, that's fine. I just need something to just follow, right? And so I'm glad you gave that outline and that breakdown. But I wanna get into the things that actually matter the most, which is like I mentioned, let's start with creative, right? how are you guys sourcing creative? What does creative diversity mean for you? And how are you delivering, on a weekly basis?
Yeah, so most of the clients that I work with, they either have an in-house team or they're working with a creative agency that feeds them like on a monthly or like bi-weekly basis with the creatives. Internal team usually either like edits the stuff from the seeding or does some mashups or does some images. So that's kind of like already a mix to me in both like formats, whether it's like scripted, whether it's like, freestyling from the creator. That's kind of like first step in the creative diversification. The other step is angles. I think the angles are like what make or break the ad account. For some of the ad account, we like unlocked a new angle that like enable us to spend like, additional 2-3K per ad in that ad account. Then like, okay, you take that script, then you give it like to 20 other creators who can film the same script with the same angle because it's working. So that's definitely first step to the scaling. And then obviously market awareness. It doesn't make sense to sell a benefits of the product to someone who doesn't even know he has a problem,
right.
So if you can break that down, that like, okay, like let's do a mini VSL on this angle. Let's start with the personal story journey. Let's start with the advertorial that does a bit more that top of the funnel. That like every piece of like, I call that a pie. And like with a different pocket or different bite of a pie, you unlock a different angle. You're not gonna scale based on one angle and one creative. I mean, sometimes you will when you find like exceptional winner, but the fact is you probably already found that winner. So you need to do more stuff outside of that.
Makes sense. Okay. So essentially what you guys are trying to do is, one, diversity means being able to have creatives in static format, video format, and then within that, what are the different messaging that is targeting different levels of awareness?
Yeah, that would be like the last step in terms of level of awareness. Like when you're spending more than 30K a day, I prefer more videos because the images in most of my ad accounts, I found images do retargeting. No matter like if you came up with the ultimate angle that's like nobody knows about that, it would do retargeting. I can see based on the frequency, based on the audience segment breakdown, based on the percentage of new visits. So I want to focus on the videos. I found images working only for the products that are self-explanatory. So, clothing, toys, jewelry, stuff like that.
Right. So anything maybe like the health and wellness side that, both of us are in, the videos are essentially helping you generate more awareness for certain problems and issues, right?
Yeah, definitely.
For the people that may not even realize they have a problem,
Exactly.
right? I think in terms of, when you actually tie it back to the ad account performance, you're looking for those ads that have a really low frequency, but high thumb stop, high hook rate, or hold rate, and it's allowing you to kind of build this awareness so that when you do have a static ad that performs, it's kind of moving people down the funnel.
Exactly. It's like eating what that video generated. I have one screenshot. I think I posted it on Twitter. I had 2 ads in Advantage Shopping Plus. One was like a mini VSL. It spent 100K, frequency was 1.1, and I had an image ad with an offer. It spent 10K. It had a frequency of 3. So like this ultimately tells you that like that image is doing retargeting, right, and it's performing only because it's bottom of the funnel.
Because of the video, right? So I guess when you do analyze the data, this is a question that comes up a lot, which is, if I'm running a campaign and my top spending ad has a really high CPA, what do I do, right?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
I would first ask myself, like, okay, how's my blended doing? Like, if we are pacing where we are, then I will leave that. The other question is, if my target CPA is 100, but this ad has like 85, I'm going to leave it. If it has like 45, then like maybe it doesn't make sense. So depending to what extent that ad is bad, I'm going to make a decision. Also, I'm going to check the frequency to see to what extent this ad is actually doing top of the funnel.
Makes sense. Now, in terms of creative strategy, what are you guys doing to find these angles? Because I know you guys do a lot of whitelisting.
Yeah.
And then you guys have, obviously static ads that are going out. But creative strategy wise, like how are you guys coming up with angles to kind of test? And what can people out there do to test more?
So customer review mining. In Atria, you can upload all of your customers and it kind of like maps you out what are the angles that people are buying from. So that's kind of like first step. The other is in Ad Manage. That's a tool where you can it streamlines bulk uploading of the ads. So basically I can launch 100 ads.
I just started using that.
Yeah,
by the way.
that's amazing.
It's sick.
So they have a feature where you can analyze the Facebook ads comments and it categorizes you per angle. So that's another thing that like, okay, first is like, let's take what our customers are saying. That's basis for, ads, and especially like using the phrases, not just the angles, but because like you will find out so many people will tell you their whole story in the comment that you can repurpose and run as an ad. So that's our kind of like first thing. Okay, let's take those angles, let's run them on the static. Whatever works, whatever gets some traction on a static, let's move that to UGC. If that works, let's give it to the influencer. And at that point, we can already started mapping a landing page per that angle. So ultimately, the goal is to get to stage where you have multiple videos about the angle running to the landing page about that angle, because you want everything to be congruent.
I love that. Because you just mentioned landing pages, I want to go into kind of the ideal setup for brands when it comes to kind of the destination, right? What is your go-to when it comes to, are you sending traffic to a landing page? Is it PDP, advertorial? What's your strategy there?
Yeah, so again, if the product is self-explanatory, like apparel or jewelry, I think like there's no better thing than PDP, because every person is familiar with that Shopify layout of the product page, and it's easier to browse the like different variants, different colors. So I think PDP is amazing. For all the products that are problem solving, I think the advertorial can be really good. My two favorites are listicle and personal story advertorials. The important thing is to track what's your click rate of the advertorial, because in theory you're going to lose between 60 and 70% of traffic. So you need to make that up on a conversion rate. So if you can educate people enough that you can make up for the people that are not clicking, so definitely track the click-through rate of the landing page. But what we found most success with some of the clients is like sales page, which is kind of like mix of the advertorial and the product page. I think you guys using something similar, which like it also has a lot of information, and you're not losing people, and people are still there. And then there's an offer at the bottom with the buy box. So that's what we found, that is kind of like a good mix between the advertorial and the product page.
I love that. And then in terms of offers, how often are you guys, testing different things? Like what should people be doing in terms of, actually delivering an offer to a consumer? Yeah.
So after the product, I think the offer has the biggest impact on the performance of the ad. So for like a couple of clients, we realized that like, let's say hit rate was like 20%, which is decent. You manage to scale something here and there. But then like when we changed the offer, like hit rate went to 45%. So like it wasn't the tests that were bad, it was offer that was bad. So I started like relaunching some of the stuff that I tested before that were not the winners, and they turned out to be decent. They did not necessarily turn out to be the winners. So definitely offer has a huge effect on the performance. So a couple of favorites that are currently working is free gift with the purchase, but it needs to be like a no-brainer deal. Like, it needs to have a high perceived value. If you're giving like a pen to someone, like it's not a perceived value. Right. If you're like giving some kind of template, it has to be something that like is, let's say it is expensive enough on your product, on your website, that you can like give it as a free gift and like people, wow, this is amazing. Also, another thing is price anchoring. So basically just almost as a people manipulation, when you have, especially for supplements or skincare, 1 month, 2 month, 3 month, when you prime them to buy that 3 month, when you make 2 month looking as a terrible offer, and then like when 3 month is like, wow, I'm scamming them, like they're crazy for giving me this. Right. So that's, I think, has the biggest effect. How to get to that point? It's very hard. It requires a lot of education. It requires a lot of iteration. Sometimes you would hit that like on your 5th iteration, and mostly it's on the intelligence, but not tracking conversion rate, not tracking AOV, not tracking revenue per visitor, but actually profit per visitor. Right. So that's our kind of like setup for the offer testing.
And how often are you actually running tests? Whether it's landing page tests or copy tests or image tests or offer tests, how often or what should be the cadence in which?
Yeah, there's always something running. Yeah. So even if you found the offer, you can like tweak it and like test $2 increments, $5 increment, or like you can test, especially on advertorial, like by now we know like what has the biggest effect. Let's say the first headline at the landing page or the first image. So okay, let's try to improve that. So like if you get just like, if you're always getting 0.1 increments, it just compounds, and it's a no-brainer to test when you have intelligence. It's such an easy thing. You don't have to do so much developments.
I love that. If you're scaling across Meta, Google, TikTok, and connected TV, but still don't have a clear answer to what's actually working, Lifesight can give you that clarity. It helps you move away from outdated touch-based attribution models. It's a measurement tool that shows what's truly driving growth and profits so you can make your best decisions. They'll audit your ad spend for free, show you where the waste is, and give you a clear plan to reallocate it. If you're ready to stop guessing and start scaling with confidence, get started with your first 30 days on the house. If you're ready to stop guessing and start scaling with confidence, get started with your first 30 days on the house. Check out lifesight.io/adspend or hit the link in the description.
Now, let's get back to the episode.
No, this has been great. I want to kind of close out with maybe 3 of your favorite tools that you're using on a day-to-day basis to make your life easier.
On a day-to-day basis. So one is maybe boring answer, but Google Sheet. I like Google Sheets. Like I having my daily logs, like having my daily reports in a Google Sheet, weekly reports. So I really love Google Sheets. I mentioned Atria for customer review mining and for understanding where do people run their ads. So basically you can see to what landing pages people are driving traffic the most. Obviously motion for creative analysis. And recently I love Ad Manager, as I mentioned, like it saves so much time in the ad creation process.
Love that. So there you have it. You have the full playbook from Marin, how he tests, how he scales, how he comes up with creatives, the offers, and his favorite tools. Thanks again, Marin.
Yeah, no problem.
Till next time, happy scaling.